Brussels officials continue to call for political dialogue to resolve the emerging crisis in Albania, with the director for the Western Balkans asking the government and the opposition to focus on the country's integration. Tirana's court today determined the security measures to be applied to the 37 individuals arrested for their actions during the opposition protest, which occurred on April 13. Universities continue to pay incredible amounts for furniture, fuel and security, while just 0.9% of their budgets are allocated for the purchase of books or scientific research. It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 16th of April 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to RTV Ora's English edition. My name is Alexandra, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. The 7th Western Balkans Civil Society Forum was held today in Tirana. During the meeting, the discussion focused on the approach to key initiatives for Western Balkan integration into the EU, such as law, security and migration, socio-economic development, connectivity, the digital agenda and good neighbourly relations. In addition to the 5 priorities that Albania must meet in order to receive a positive response from the European Council, it was determined that a solution to the domestic political crisis should be found to ensure the situation does not adversely affect the June decision. European Union representative Angelina Eichhorst, during a meeting with civil society, appealed to the political clan to find common language for dialogue, as the situation created serves no positive purpose for Albania. All political parties must have the integration of the country on their agenda. I must make it clear that the parliamentary boycott does not serve anyone. It is very negative to say we will not be present or we will not attend. Therefore, the government and the opposition must reach a compromise to end this situation, said Angelina Eichhorst. Mylinda Bregu, the Secretary-General of the Regional Council for Cooperation, although well aware of the ins and outs of Albanian Parliament, preferred not to discuss the local political crisis. Unlike the Brussels representatives, Bregu did not use diplomatic language to express her scepticism regarding the decision to be made by the Council of Europe in June. 1 month before the integration report, Albania and North Macedonia have high expectations. I hope that Brexit does not eclipse the Western Balkan integration during the European Council meeting, declared Mylinda Bregu. Regarding the role of civil society, Bregu demanded more engagement, mentioning also European Union funds. Looking at just the years 2014 to 2017, there is not just a few cents, but €145 million in European Union funds that have been allocated to civil society. Although there are many problems and challenges, it is important to bring all the forces together. No one can do it alone. We must come together for the greater interest and for a common vision, so that we have the opportunity to build real bridges of cooperation, added Bregu. Mayor Erion Veliaj was more optimistic. During his speech, he asked the European Union countries not to seek perfection from Albania, but to give the green light based on the completion of the tasks set by Brussels. He stressed that the city has been successful in creating spaces for discussion. Your success is also my success, said Veliaj. He went on to add that, despite the fact that stereotypes exist regarding those who shift from civil society into politics, everyone tries to give their greatest contribution. Both Veliaj and Bregu called on the Balkan representatives to leave behind prejudices and to unite for a common vision. The main topics on the agenda for the forum were the role of civil society organisations in promoting regional cooperation for trade and investment and connectivity and people-to-people relations, the state of social dialogue, and enabling a civic space in the Western Balkans. Three days after the April 13th protest, the court ordered 3 protesters to be held in prison and 2 others to be placed under house arrest. The police arrested a total of 37 citizens over the April 13 opposition protest because of actions recorded during the rally, where, among other incidents, a vehicle was set alight. Edmond Bushi, Daniel Jata and Armando Jetsai now await trial from a prison cell, while for Gzim Almeta and Shemsi Koloshi, their homes have become their prison. The remainder of the arrested have since been released, facing a submission of obligation for their pending trials. Outside the court, the Democratic Party Secretary-General, Gazmend Bardhi, referred to those imprisoned as political prisoners. Speaking after the court handed down the decision, he guaranteed the government that the more protesters they put in prison, the more that will gather for future opposition protests. Be sure that if this violence against protesters continues, the citizens will retaliate with violence of their own, declared Bardhi. The arrestees of the April 13 protest were accused of duty-based abuse, opposing a police officer, dismissal of public serenity, destruction of property with fire, and violation of rules on explosive substances. 23 other people were prosecuted for their actions during the protest, which injured police officers, citizens, and even some media representatives. Universities continue to spend their earnings from students on unnecessary luxuries. According to a report published by Civic Resistance, only 0.9% of funds go towards books and scientific research, whereas significant funding was used for furniture, vehicles, fuel, internet and mobile phones. During these 6 months, the Polytechnic University has a high representation of expenses through a large number of transactions. In total, the expenses for the Polytechnic University of Tirana amount to €2.98 billion, said Rigels Gemolari from Civic Resistance. For the period from September to February, the Fan S. Noli University in Corcha spent €24,000 on fuel, and the University of Alexander Giovanni in Elbasan €22,000. Meanwhile, the University of Shkodra purchased a vehicle to the value of €24,000. €17,000 for phone calls means they are spending more money talking on the phone than they are on scientific research for the students, added Gemolari. It is asserted that this luxury spending is not in proportion to the spending that has gone towards improving the quality of teaching. What is even more surprising is that despite the absence of books, building security has been added. The report also mentioned the bloated structures of university administration as a real concern in regards to finances. "100,000 students across the country today received a questionnaire via their personal emails for the purpose of conducting a national survey. By answering the 100 questions listed, they will give their assessment of infrastructure, curriculum and their academic staff. Most of the questions are in multiple choice format, though several do allow for multiple options to be selected. The survey was prepared by the Higher Education Quality Assurance Agency and must be completed by students before the 2nd of May. The HEQAA will collate the results into a comprehensive report, which will then be made available to both the universities themselves and the Ministry of Education. Since the moment Gent Sakai took on the role as Acting Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, the department has experienced significant changes, especially in the diplomatic corps. Already the changes have affected the top executives of the institution as well as the ambassadors. Secretary-General Guzman Barbalushi was proposed by the Prime Minister for the position of the Albanian ambassador to Spain. On Wednesday, he will report to the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Policy, where he will present his strategy for the direction of this diplomatic representation. Following the presentation, the committee will send their recommendations to the presidency, after which a decree must be issued within 30 days. In the circumstance that Barbalushi is appointed, it is expected that career diplomat Arman Skrapi will take over the role of Secretary-General and will lead the working group tasked with amending the law on diplomacy. Arman Skrapi was part of the negotiating group that worked on the maritime agreement with Greece, an issue that remains pending between the two countries. £16.1 billion is the amount of damage caused to the state budget as a result of fraudulent schemes during 2018. According to the report by the General Directorate of Taxation, the most significant damage was caused by concealment of revenue to the amount of 6.5 billion lek. This is followed by 5.4 billion lek for the non-payment of taxes and the establishment of abusive schemes with the reimbursement of VAT. The Tax Investigation Department has referred 308 cases to the prosecution, with most concerns arising from Tirana. In the General Tax Directorate's report, it is emphasised that citizens play a key role in denouncing fraudulent schemes, of which 30% have been proven. On the other hand, the government's obligations to businesses continue to be high. The figure for the report goes to 107.7 billion, representing an increase of about 12 billion lek. When breaking down the debt, VAT represents the largest portion at 37%, followed by income tax at 28%, social insurance and health at 13%, and TAP at 1%. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of RTV Ora, thank you and good night.